The headlines: Ethiopia and Brazil express keenness to bolster bilateral and diplomatic relations to a higher level. And calm returns to the streets of Senegal's Dakar after 72 hours of violence. Hello and welcome to Addis News Hour. I'm Daniel Kasahun with the news. Ethiopia and Brazil agreed to take their bilateral and multilateral diplomatic relations to a higher level. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed held discussion with the Brazilian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mauro Vieira, today on the issues pertaining to scaling up the relations between the two countries in a higher level. Abtama Shagri has more.
Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed held consultative discussion with the Brazilian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mauro Vieira, on ways to strengthen bilateral ties between the two countries. In his social media, the Premier says that he had fruitful discussion with Vieira to bolster bilateral and multilateral common issues and in a national arena. Meanwhile, Minister of Foreign Affairs Demeqe Mekonnen discussed with the Brazilian Minister of Foreign Affairs Mauro Vieira today on the issues pertaining to scaling up the relations between the two countries into a higher level. Demeqe stated that it is high time for Ethiopian and Brazil strengthen ties, remaining that Ethiopia's reopening of its embassy in Brazil aims to further enhance the relations. He briefed his Brazilian counterpart of Ethiopia's desire to cooperate with Brazil in investment, aviation, tourism, agriculture, manufacturing, environmental protection, mining, energy, among other sectors. The Brazilian Foreign Minister Mauro Vieira, for his part, mentioned that his country is ready to cooperate with Ethiopia in sports and other various fields. Thus, the Foreign Minister has presented the jersey of the Brazilian national team to his counterpart. He confirmed that Brazil is also ready to cooperate with Ethiopia in multilateral diplomatic forums in addition to bilateral relations. An agreement was reached for further political dialogue between the two countries. Ethiopia and Brazil have the leading coffee supplier nations in South America and Africa to international market respectively. The Brazilian delegation led by Mauro Vieira will hold sideline meetings to boost business-to-business ties with Ethiopia. It is to be remembered that the Brazilian Foreign Minister has arrived in Ethiopia for an official walking visit.
Earlier today, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said adequate and productive use of potential resources and passage down to the next generation is essential in value creation. This said while the Prime Minister inaugurated Unity Park Botanic Center, the Unity Archive, and the Prime Minister Office Medical Center on Sunday. Kushmal says more.
Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said adequate and productive use of potential resources and pass it down to generation is essential in value creation. Although Unity Park was inaugurated 2 years ago, a wide range of activities are being underway in it to document and build Ethiopian history as well as to pass it to the next generation. The Premier underscored that the renovation is carried out with own capacity, adding that it's promoting important history of the past and put legacy.
በተለያዩ ሀገር ስልጠና እና ጉብኝት አድርገው ሙሉ በሙሉ አቅም ከፈጠርን በኋላ
We established a team to renovate the park. After our citizens received training from abroad and built enough capacity, the archive built 100% by our own citizens. This place was unpleasant. Now it is renovated attractively. The archive is very essential for Ethiopia. It helps our sons to know their history from the horse's mouth. If students and researchers want to conduct further study, they can access documents easily here.
ግብአት የሚሆኑ ማስረጃዎች መረጃዎች ሊገኙበት የሚችል ቦታ
The other inaugurated project in Unity Park is the Botanic Center, which comprises over 230 plant species, of which 15 of plant species is found alone in Ethiopia. The center represents Ethiopia's 5 topographic features. The premier highlighted that the Botanic Center took 2 years to complete it, and the center helps to protect Ethiopia's plant resources.
የኢትዮጵያን ጤፍ ባለቤት ሆኖ የፓተንት ራይት ያስመዘገበው ሀገር ሌላ ሀገር ነው።
The other countries are in a race to take the patent of Ethiopia's teff. There are several species in Ethiopia. If these species are taken to abroad, they would register with their own patent. Therefore, this Botanic Center will help us to protect our own botanic species. It creates an opportunity for Ethiopians to know a range of species which is not available in all parts of Ethiopia.
እኛ በገጠር በመጠኑም ቢሆን ባደግንበት ሰፈር የምናቃቸው ፕላንቶች ያሉ ቢሆንም
Prime Minister Abiy disclosed that adequate and productive use of potential resources and pass it down to generation is essential in value creation.
ትናንትና ውስጥ ያለን ጥበብ አላቅህም አላየውህም ሳይሆን
The principle of prosperity is digging out the indigenous knowledge to practice it in daily lives by adapting to the environment. Unless we recognize the resources in our hand, we cannot achieve our intended goal. If we look into our environment, we can get enough food, medicine and other potentials from our environment. It is better examining our existing knowledge.
አስቦና አሳምሮ ለትውልድ ማሸጋገር አስፈላጊ ነው።
The premier announced that students can visit the center till it completely opened for visitors.
You are watching the live transmission of Addis News Hour from the African capital, Addis Ababa. The Ethiopian ambassador to Kuwait, Said Mohammed, presented his copy of credentials to the foreign minister of the state of Kuwait, Sheikh Salim Abdullah Al-Jaber Al-Sabou, according to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia. On the occasion, Ambassador Said conveyed the good wishes of Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Demeke Mekonnen to the Foreign Minister of the State of Kuwait. The Ethiopian envoy lauded the historical relationship between the two countries, underscoring the need to further scaling up with the renewed engagement. For his part, Sheikh Salim Abdullah Al-Jaber Al-Salah expressed gratitude for the goodwill wishes of the Ethiopian Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister. The Foreign Minister reaffirmed his commitment to supporting the ambassador's endeavors during his stay in Kuwait. It's known that Ethiopia and Kuwait cordially stated diplomatic relations in 1967.
Welcome to the land of origins. Commercial Bank of Ethiopia is pleased to serve all your traveler banking needs. If you have money from any of these 16 countries, you can convert it to local currency by visiting our nearest branch. Alternatively, our secure Forex ATMs accept cash exchange, or if you prefer using your cards, we've partnered with Visa, MasterCard, and UnionPay so that you can withdraw cash from our local ATMs or make cashless transactions at thousands of local POS partners securely and with confidence. We are linked with more than 700 global banks through our direct SWIFT address, CBE Teta. We also work with 16 international money transfer agents, out of which Tune and World Remit enable you to make direct deposits into our savings and current accounts or our popular CBE Burr mobile wallet. Commercial Bank of Ethiopia, the bank you can always rely on.
Welcome back. You are watching Addis News Hour. Close to 30 media scholars from Somalia, Rwanda, and Sudan have paid a visit to ETV's newly established complex located at Shogole area. They call on ABC to have collaborations with multiple African countries and local universities as well. The Nisa reports.
Close to 30 media scholars from Somalia, Rwanda, and Sweden have paid a visit to EBC's newly established complex located at Shagole area. Multiple scholars and students from 7 different local universities were also in attendance. The scholars stated that paying EBC a visit has been quite a good experience sharing for them.
We have come to exchange ideas on, and of course, and experiences on how we can make this profession important, and of course we are aiming at professional journalism, and we are looking at the factors that actually contribute, or the factors that can help us actually better the profession, and we are bringing together journalism and communication educators, and of course media houses, and we are also considering other factors, other enablers that can make the profession so fruitful. This was also a very good experience because we toured Addis Ababa, and of course we had an amazing experience with EBC, that is Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation. And of course we witnessed what they are doing. Actually, it's an amazing work aiming at, let me say, Pan-African media that everybody should subscribe to.
I think it has come now to serve not just us, but you know, beyond us, beyond Ethiopia. It's a media that, as I heard from the presenters, it's a media that's planning to serve the entire continent, and that really is so impressive. And what's being done right now really witnesses that ETV is coming to that summit.
We are here at the EBC, and it is awesome. The kind of structure that is being put up in the facilities has been just magnificent.
They also called on EBC to have collaborations with multiple African countries and local universities as well.
And I would simply call upon EBC to bring on board all other African countries, and of course other media houses in different African countries, so that they can actually collaborate on this very important and good cause, so that they can actually position Africa and give it the position that it deserves in the world.
I think what you're doing is really great, but I think you also need to work with us, schools of journalism here in Addis, yes, but there are also others in the regions.
The scholars appreciated what an inspiration EBC has become throughout the years.
The Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission has invited the general public to continue submitting national issues which could be a national agenda during the Ethiopian National Dialogue Program. The Commission, though, through a social media post, stated that it is making preparations to facilitate public consultations for agenda collection. It's also reminded that the Commission has already commenced collecting potential national dialogue agenda for the general public through email, postal services or EMS, telephone and in-person submission to the Commission's head office in Addis Ababa. The Operation Director for NAVPA South African Development Aviation and Aerospace stated that African nations should work harder than ever to develop their aviation industries. The director, Ruth Hungwe-Rukrao, emphasized it is a must-to-do task for the region in order to give the sector the capability, know-how and technology it needs to seize control of its skies, enhance connections with the rest of the world and create jobs and economic prosperity. Kasan Chane reports.
Radar. Roger. Radar, good morning, Ethiopia 602 out of 8,600, rotating.
Nepal's Africa Development Aviation Airspace is working with various African countries to implement International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, and International Air Transport Association, IATA guidelines to improve the airspace safety, security, and efficiencies. According to Rutungwe Rukarwa from Africa Development Aviation Airspace and in charge of Nepal's as Operations Director, this new agreement is critical to provide with the capacity, expertise, and technology to take control of air sky, enhance global connections, and create jobs and economic prosperity of the region. Further enable the continent to promote economic integration and people-to-people linkage. She claimed that Nepal's Africa Development Aviation Airspace requires a very strong cooperation, being united, and a civil aviation industry.
Absolutely. As I said, I'm building upon what the Emperor did here, right? And what I want to share, my message is that aviation is the key enabler for sustainable development. Of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, aviation touches on 15. So I want to urge the nations, the continent, to understand what is aviation and what it can do for you. So that's my big message, and as I said, I'm representing a company called NAVPAS, who has seen the lack on the continent in terms of being organized where aviation is concerned. And when I say aviation, it's collecting revenue in the sky. We've taken our independence on the ground, but we've not been independent to actually see the worth of the real estate that we have in the skies. And just with a few organizations, we can track and trace anything that's happening in our skies and collect the tolls on it.
She explained that the term aviation development encompasses a wide variety of infrastructure, human resources, training, and allied capacity building operations. She contends that if every country understood the investment and income generated by the aviation industry and worked together to achieve goals, the continent's economy would quickly grow.
People say Africa, this one trade thing that we have going on, we're talking about 3 trillion, economy for Africa. I believe that every nation, if you make your aviation stand properly, that means civil aviation is collecting rightly and we are compliant according to international regulations, we can turn Africa into a 55 trillion economy. It's possible. So I thank you. I'm just happy to be here to share, those ideas with other people and to noise this thing abroad. And I said, what greater example? I want to talk about aviation from a country that has understood aviation. And I'm here to help them as well. So Civil Aviation Ethiopia, if you're listening, I'm your girl. Let's talk and see what more we can add to what you're already doing.
The aviation industry has been in the news recently for its considerable contribution to global greenhouse gas emissions, with air travel anticipated to double by 2035. This is noteworthy given the significance of aviation development.
Flaps 0.
The Ethiopian delegation representing employers and workers is attending the International Labour Organization ILO's 111th International Labour Conference in Geneva, Switzerland. ILO's 111th International Labour Conference has kicked off today in Geneva, Switzerland. Workers, employers and government delegates from ILO's 187 member states are discussing on a just transition towards sustainable and inclusive economies, quality, apprenticeship and labor protection. A global coalition for social justice is needed to galvanize efforts and quicken progress toward achieving shared development goals.
Welcome to the land of origins. Commercial Bank of Ethiopia is pleased to serve all your traveler banking needs. If you have money from any of these 16 countries, you can convert it to local currency by visiting our nearest branch. Alternatively, our secure Forex ATMs accept cash exchange, or if you prefer using your cards, we've partnered with Visa, MasterCard, and UnionPay so that you can withdraw cash from our local ATMs or make cashless transactions at thousands of local POS partners securely and with confidence. We are linked with more than 700 global banks through our direct SWIFT address, CBE Teta. We also work with 16 international money transfer agents, out of which Tune and World Remit enable you to make direct deposits into our savings and current accounts or our popular CBE Burr mobile wallet. Commercial Bank of Ethiopia, the bank you can always rely on.
Welcome back. You are watching this news hour. The clash that were erupted in Senegal, Dakar on Thursday after the sentencing of opposition leader Ousmane Sonko to 2 years in jail has now calmed. Government officials have reported 500 people had been arrested since Thursday. more.
The clash first broke out on Thursday after Sonko was convicted of corrupting youth but acquitted on charges of raping a woman who worked at a message parole and making these threats against her. Sonko, who didn't attend his trial in Dakar, was sentenced to 2 years in prison. After the United Nations and the African Union called for calm in Senegal for an outbreak of deadly violence that prompted authorities to deploy the army, now calm has returned to the streets of Senegal capital Dakar following 72 hours of violence.
The security forces were faced with violent demonstrators who were not seeking to express opinions, but rather were engaged in subversive activities. The people apprehended during these events are mainly armed and dangerous individuals. Most of those arrested were in possession of Molotov cocktails, knives, and large caliber firearms.
The number of people killed in days of clashes between Senegalese police and supporters of opposition leader Ousmane Sonko has reached 16, including 2 security officers, according to government sources. Supporters of Sonko and President Macky Sall have traded blame for the violence and disease. Sonko was not present at his trial and is yet to be taken into custody for his jail term, which is predicted to stoke further tensions.
Finally, let's have reminders of the headlines. Ethiopia and Brazil express keenness to bolster bilateral and diplomatic relations to a higher level. calm returns to the streets of Senegal, Dakar, after 72 hours of violence. That's all for the edition. Many thanks for being with us. Have a good time.